Ladies and gentlemen, today we are covering Season 5, Episode 13, Do Princesses Dream of Magical Sheep? This episode is the episode in which it's a very Luna-centric episode, where we find out that there's this horrifying creature known as the Tantabus, and this creature has been haunting her dreams and is causing issues related thereto, and as a direct consequence thereof, she is trying to deal with it and is failing at it. No offense to her, of course. That's this episode. Now, I think we all know tiramisu is terrible, horrible, awful. That's weird. Anyways, you also see the rainbow forms show up very briefly. The Tantabus shows up. It's name dropped right at the beginning. You caught that. And she just sort of accepts it, which you caught that too. And the way it's shown and the way it turns her into Nightmare Moon, it's like, oh my gosh, no, she's going to be Nightmare Moon again. I knew it. It's all back. No, but then the main six turn into their rainbow forms. And what's interesting is the general presentation and idea is that this is an event that's actually happening, and oh my gosh, they're going to have to use their new superpowered forms to stop her. You notice they subvert that immediately. The Tantabus gets out, and Nightmare Moon's like, wait, what? And then they defeat her, and the dream ends happily. My dream ended happily? This cannot happen! And this is why Tabitha St. Germain is an amazing, amazing actress. And poor Spike wasn't there. So this leads to grooming day for the pets. Is it just me? Does Aloysius look really happy being, rubbed, brushed? I don't know what to call that on the thing. Yeah, Tank is back. Tank is no longer dead. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. They're all super happy, of course. And they're all very tired. The bit I want to comment on is Pinky doing literal somersaults in the area. I'm totally exhausted too! That got a chuckle out of me. I'll give you that one. And I also like how they very quickly figure out that they had a shared dream. Now, if you don't understand why that is a thing that I like, rather than a thing that I don't like, fiction has this problem every now and again, where it'll be like, hey, there's this thing, and the audience already knows what's going on, and it takes the characters forever to pick up on it. And while that can work when properly written, usually it's not. What usually ends up happening is the characters are morons and don't pick up on the very obvious signs right in front of their faces. So, the fact that they pick up on it and are like, oh, obviously we had a shared dream, I do like that. Then, they decide to send the mail off to Luna, and she gets there in seconds. Which, of course, has its own appropriate appeal, but what I think I like most about the fact that she shows up in seconds is if you're paying attention to the background, you can actually hear the teleport sound. It's very brief, and it's actually muffled, just kind of like this. Just and then she's there. Nice little touch. And yeah, I like how Spike wrote the yawns in and then crossed them out. This leads us to very quickly establishing the thread of the episode, very quickly and efficiently. We have two very important points, which she drops right off the beginning. It grows in power, because it's parasitic, and it can bounce between shared dreams, aka if I dream about, Savicom, I don't know why I'm calling you out on this one, then it would be able to bounce from my dream into Savicom's dream, and now we have a problem. So those 2 points are dropped very early on, which is good. Which is good writing in general, I do think. By the way, I do like this episode. So with these 2 points established very quickly and very efficiently, Luna then is like, okay, how are we going to deal with this? Well, I've got an idea. You six go to sleep. I will go deal with this. This is important. By the way, I have a very personal investment in this episode. I want to kind of save more of that for later, if that's okay. I'm just building blocks right now, if that's all right with you. But she refuses to let the six help. Not because they can't help. Indeed, we show that they are mandatory for helping the situation. But because, no, you stay here. She also flat out mentions, Twilight says, can't you call Celestia? And she gives an excuse. Oh no, Celestia can't help within the realm of dreams. Yeah, but anyone can have the power in a dream to help, as is shown later. So naturally, and I think that the episode does this very effectively without saying it, naturally Luna refuses to ask Celestia for help. This is made very clear in Rarity's dream, which is the very next scene. She jumps into Rarity's dream, and notice two things are done very efficiently in Rarity's dream. There's some really good efficient exposition in this episode. First, the Tantabus knows exactly what to do to bother her. Now, this is shown throughout all of the dreams, but the point is, it knows the person who is in the dream thereof. Therefore, it knows what to do to get to them. Right? And of course, and it shows this by the first thing it does is it shreds the dress. First friggin' action. The second thing it does is Rarity says, "We've got this. Let's go ahead and fight this." And Luna actually flat out, I forget if it's her wing or her hoof, but she flat out says, "No!" Puts her arm in front of it. "I am the one who must stop this. You stay here and do what you can." That action right there says all it needs to about, her refusal to accept help on this one. And that is why I say with total certainty, of course she wouldn't ask Celestia for help, even though Celestia totally could help her through this. So, there's a really good tidbit too, and I'm sure you noticed it. I will admit I didn't notice this the first time around, where she's talking to Rarity, and Rarity says something, I forget what, and she refuses to help. It's, "No, this is all my fault." And there's just that brief moment of guilt, and the Tantabus shows up right behind her, distends and grows larger, and then leaves off as she says it. So she leaves Rarity's dream. This leads to Pinkie Pie's dream. Yeah, that fits her, doesn't it? I mean, I've talked before about dream logic, but Pinkie's logic is certainly, or Pinkie's dream is certainly very Pinkie Pie, isn't it? Just jumping between areas. You'll also notice that Luna's expression as she's... Yeah, she knows what's happening too. Luna's expression as she's fighting it in Pinkie's dream is not, "I'll defeat you," and not determination. There's this kind of, like, regretful expression she's wearing, which, once again, emphasizes the point that I've already mentioned. And then Pinkie dreams of the entire town, and we only see a second of that. Once again, good exposition. Cut to Fluttershy, who is being petted, and cut to AJ, who, of course, she's already actually made an apple that big, so of course she knows what that's like. And then we go back to Twilight's dream. Now, Twilight's dream is interesting. First of all, she literally uses the same... Oh, I forgot Rainbows. Rainbows is next. Okay, sorry. Rainbows is after that. She goes to Twilight's dream. The book monsters, yep, okay. But there's two things I thought that were interesting. First of all, she uses the crystal power in order to freeze it. The same thing that Cadence used back in Princess Spike. The same thing that's based off of King Sombra's power. I don't know if that's relevant, but given this show, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually that becomes relevant. That specific type of spell. You'll also notice that Luna successfully traps the thing, and then she turns and sees Twilight, who is being attacked by the books, and then it breaks out of her cage. If you didn't pick up on it before here, that makes it very clear for the audience what's going on at this point. So it breaks out, and she's like, "No, I have to go deal with it." And this leads to Rainbow's nightmare. Now, first of all, allow me to go ahead and confess something, which I probably shouldn't. I've had dreams like that. No, not the saccharine one. The first one. And those are usually good dreams. I'll admit that. I actually had a dream for a long time there when I was in a wheelchair. And it was pretty much the same dream each time. It was the Battle of Pelennor Fields from Return of the King, if you're familiar with that. And I was out there, trying to save the city, to save Minas Tirith, and doing what I could to stop the tide of the oncoming Orcish army, pretty much by myself. And that was an awesome dream. That was a very fun dream. So I just want to say that I totally feel Rainbow on that. You'll also notice it literally uses the same stills from back during Cadence's marriage, so that's cute. Anyways, then the actual nightmare shows up. Now, I want to make fun of this, but at the same time, it actually makes perfect sense. Now, hear me out for a moment. We know Rainbow Dash has 2 problems. Well, actually, she has like 50 problems. But the first problem she has is she doesn't like admitting that she likes cute things, even though she does. Image. The second thing, though, is she doesn't like when things go too far. Now, the reason I bring that point up is because you'll notice that what happens is things are not cute. They are saccharine. They are syrupy. And even someone who likes cute things would look at that and be like, ugh. And now imagine that's just it. That's just all you got, is this cute, syrupy, saccharine sarsaparilla. I don't know what to call it, right? Just, yeah, it does. It kind of hits an uncanny valley, and it gets creepy instead of being cute. And so she's just looking at that like, ugh. So I'm actually kind of with her in being bothered by that particular nightmare, even though it is probably just a gag. So she fights out, and, you know, Luna gets on. Let's see, looking at my notes here, looking at my notes. Oh, apparently I did those out of order. Sorry, it was actually Rainbow's first, then Twilight's. My bad. I apologize. I apparently looked at my notes out of character, or out of turn. Let's talk about seesaw effect. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what seesaw effect is when you keep doing, which makes it easier to keep doing. It applies to a huge amount of things in real life, which is why I just call it that. Some people have specific phrases for specific aspects of that. The tilt, when it comes to video gaming, for example, is a form of seesaw effect. But the whole point of seesaw effect is exactly what I just said. The more you do it, the easier it is to keep doing it. Luna's seesaw guilt here is something I understand incredibly well and very personally. Because it just gets worse the more it gets worse. Right? You screw up. You get upset that you screwed up. Which makes you screw up. Which makes you upset that you screwed up. Which makes you screw up. And each time your mood just descends another tip. And I'm sure, I hope that you don't, but I'm sure at least some of you understand exactly what that feels like. It's actually something I've been feeling this last week, specifically with regards to the Halo runs. So I have immediate personal experience with that. And this is something that I have fought my whole life, in many aspects of said life. It doesn't help that I am actually a failure in real-life concepts, but ignoring that, even on the macroscopic and the macroscopic scale of things, the microscopic tends to be more magnified. Or, to put it another way, when you're already at 3 HP, even a hit of 1 HP feels like a huge hit, right? And that's exactly what she's going through here. Just, oh my god, no, and I just keep screwing up, and no matter how much I screw up, I can't stop screwing up! What's interesting is, as she gets out, Pinkie Pie says something, and she says, "Every pony makes mistakes." Did you catch that? Because that is true. Now, I know this, intellectually. There's nothing wrong with screwing up. There isn't. You learn from it and you move on. That is life. And that is intellectually something I understand and comprehend as being true. The problem, of course, is feeling that in the moment. Right? This, of course, is then turned into a gag when she reveals that she's dreamed about the whole town because, you know, every pony makes mistakes. Whoops! Unfortunately, that really makes everything worse. Here are 2 points from earlier comeback. Dream hopping and increased power. So now this is actually a legitimate and huge threat. Congrats! Twilight gives the obvious suggestion. Why not do a shared dream? Which she's actually done before on this show, if you remember. If nothing else, she did it with the 3 Cutie Mark Crusaders. Remember that? That was a good episode, too. So she's like, okay, I will do this. And she has a quote, which I wrote down word for word. I will do anything to end this, even accept your help. Because when you've screwed up, you don't want someone else to help you. You want to fix it. You know why you want to fix it? Because you want to prove that you are capable of being better than you are afraid that you are. because you want that proof. This is one of the biggest things that tends to stop seesaw effect, is a big smack on the other side of things, right? If you... I'll use video games as an example. If you're screwing up on a boss over and over and over, you don't want to hand the controller to your friend and have them get through the boss. You want to beat that boss. And once you do, all of that's going to be able to deflate because now you have proven that you could actually do it. You have hit the other side of the seesaw hard, which has shoved it right back up, right? I am, of course, speaking entirely from personal experience here. So she doesn't want to accept help, because that's not going to help anything. It's just now the situation has gotten so bad that she basically has to. So, okay, fine. Even... I will accept the most horrible thing possible, aka accepting your help. Fine. This then leads to the dream sequence, which is probably the best part of the overall episode. Flying muffins, giant derpy, who coos. Bon Bon and Lyra are literally joined and are very happy about it, apparently. Big Mac is a unicorn, an apple unicorn, specifically. By the way, we've got, oh god, so we've got that. So they've got the Bon Bon and Lyra thing. We've got the Flutterbat, Chivalrous Spike, Filthy Rich with his money sled, Scootaloo with her giant wings, because she is disabled and can't fly properly. Rainbow and the Power Ponies, AJ as well, actually. Twilight restoring the library, because of course she would. Why wouldn't she? And I think that's all of them. That is 7 continuity counter things, which I'm totally going to add to this. Because every single one of them adds to this. I also noticed the town was happy to see Luna, which is a very nice touch. It's certainly a demonstrable change from way back in Season 2, isn't it? Oh yeah, Filthy Rich is cool. I mean, we've said this before, and we will see this again. Yes, we have seen Mega Spike. A Chivalrous Spike is what I called it, but yeah, I mentioned him. So quite a bit of continuity count. I just wanted to get that all out of the way really quick, because there's a lot of good continuity in this episode. Anyways. So. I am sorry I brought this upon you, but I will end this now, says Luna. This is when I talk about the seesaw thing in my notes here. Flutterbat runs around trying to do things. Princess Big Mac, complete with magical girl transformation. Admittedly got quite a bit of a laugh out of me. This is the Avengers Assemble moment of the episode, where we see a whole bunch of continuity and a whole bunch of characters who are all just kind of having fun. So, cool. They all fail, of course, because what happens is they all see this happening, and Luna's like, oh my god, I'm screwing up even more, and then the Tantabus gets bigger. And this is when Spike flat out states what's happening. And Twilight confirms it. In fact, 3 times in this episode, they state what they've already been showing. They show and tell, which actually irritates me just a little bit. So this is when we find out that Luna actually created Tantabus in order to give herself a nightmare every night, in order to punish her for what she did, to make sure that she never forgave herself. Because she doesn't deserve forgiveness. She knows she was wrong. She knows that what she did was unacceptable, and the fact that people forgive her for it makes it even worse. How dare they? How dare they forgive her? How dare they actually try to actually make things better by simply saying, it's okay, we're still your friends, I screwed up! And now, worst of all, she's doing it again. Even with all of the best of intentions, with no intent to maliciousness or vile, nothing whatsoever done in order to try and make things worse, she is now once again doing it and making things worse for those she cares about, for those around her who are suffering for her misdeeds. Maybe she really is just a bad person. Maybe she was right. That's the worst part right there. When you feel guilt, when you feel shame, there's a part of you that thinks that's not me. That's actually what shame kind of is, in my opinion. Shame is, I screwed up, not, I am bad. Because you don't think you're bad, you think you have fallen. But to be proven right, to think, oh god, maybe I actually am as bad as I was worried about earlier, well, that's a much worse feeling. That is a much worse feeling. Yeah, I was going to say, we literally have talked about this last week. Imagine reaching out and being proven right in the worst way possible. Yeah. Now, all of this is excellent. Up until this point, this is what I would clearly call a purple episode. This is when it starts to fall apart a little bit. Because what happens is everything just kind of gets solved pat. Which is, hey! And then it's fine. She just forgives herself and accepts, you know, that she screwed up and then moves on. And the end. The episode ends really, really, really quickly. Yeah, I'm with Lunaruth. No pun intended. I honestly really think that they should have had a second episode devoted towards following through on this one. And I mean that sincerely. Have a second episode of people trying to embrace her, of accepting her on small-scale things, on her accepting that she's not horrible on small-scale things, on demonstrable proofs which allow her to logically fight against the guilt she feels, etc., and just have a whole episode focused on her recovery. Instead, she's fine, and this will probably never come up again. Man, if only it was that easy. That is the only thing I have against this episode is the last like 1 minute. It's like, I think it's actually like 80 seconds. It's ridiculous how quick it is. It's just, and then it's done. So I think that diminishes the power and impact of this episode, but I think it is worth noting that this is still an excellent episode in my opinion. If it's not obvious, I am very biased because I don't think I'm that bad. I mean, I clearly fail constantly, but I don't actually think I am a bad person. I do try to be better. I do try to, you know, accomplish things and help people. I simply lack the power to do it. That doesn't make it feel any better. But it's true. And sometimes I just screw up. And that sucks. And I get stuck in that spiral. That seesaw of, well... Unfortunately, I am saddened by how many of you in chat know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, Celestia would not know how to deal with this. Celestia would openly embrace her sister, immediately and without hesitation. Which is probably not what Luna needs right now, weirdly enough. And yeah, she does have her own issues, of course. So... good episode. Very, very good episode. This episode was done by 3 people. Scott Sonneborn, Jason Thiessen, and Jim Miller, which is an interesting crew, because Scott Sonneborn made Some Pony to Watch Over Me, which is a blue episode, and Jason Thiessen and Jim Miller made a dark blue episode, the only dark blue episode we have on the record, which is Princess Spike, because that's just kind of a, you know, crap, worst episode I've seen so far. And yeah, this episode is still a very good episode. However, I do think I'm going to knock it down to red. Because those last few minutes just sap it. It would be like, if I could use a parallel here, to use Star Trek as a parallel, as I often do when it comes to MLP. Imagine if, this is going to sound funny, imagine if in Best of Both Worlds Part 1, right? You know the episode. Mr. Worf, fire! And then they shoot and the Borg are destroyed. And Picard was beamed off at the last second. Are you gonna be okay, Picard? Yes, I think I am. Thankfully, we'll never have to deal with that again. Enterprise sails off, and that's the end of Best of Both Worlds. That's kind of the feeling here. Oh my god, this is amazing! Oh. Oh, it's over. That's exactly the vibe I get from this episode. Nevertheless, very good episode, absolutely. And speaking of which, our next episode is one I remember rather fondly. Then again, I remember almost every single upcoming episode very fondly. Like, Season 5 is a great season, in my opinion. Might actually be the best season overall. I don't know, we'll see. But next we have Season 5, Episode 14, Canterlot Boutique. I will see you guys in about 25 minutes.